It's funny. Have you ever stopped to think if we all see the world in the exact same way? That one question is really at the heart of what researchers call worldviews. Now, that sounds kind of heavy, right? But stick with me because we're going to break it down and see why it's something that actually matters to all of us. Now, really, think about that for a second. When you look at anything, a news story, a disagreement, whatever, is there just one single objective truth sitting there? Or does your unique perspective, your background, your beliefs, does that totally change what you see? This is the big question. And it's not just for academics, it's for anyone trying to make sense of the world. Okay, to make this super clear, let's use a really simple metaphor. Think of your worldview as a pair of glasses. The thing is, you're not just looking through them. They are actively shaping how you see everything. They filter things, they focus your attention, they literally frame your reality. And this one idea, it's the key to understanding all the different ways people approach research. So here's what we're going to do. First, we'll try on 3 totally different pairs of these research glasses. Then, we'll see how a researcher's perspective can change over time. We'll dig into what actually causes that shift, and we'll end up with a much, much better question than just asking which one is right. All right, let's get into it. Time to try on our first pair of glasses. And just remember, each one of these is going to give us a completely different view of the exact same world. First up are the post-positivist glasses. Now, this is a pretty common starting point for a lot of folks in research. So, what's their deal? Think of these like a powerful pair of binoculars. They're all about precision, right? You zoom in, you measure things, you focus on the hard, observable facts. But here's the really important part. Someone using these glasses knows their tool isn't perfect. They get that the lenses might have a tiny bit of distortion. Still, their whole goal is to get as close as humanly possible to an objective, measurable truth. Okay, take off the binoculars. Now we're going to try on something completely different, the constructivist glasses. And wow, this is a huge shift. We've just swapped our binoculars for a kaleidoscope. You know how that works. Every little turn and the whole picture changes. This worldview basically says there isn't one single reality out there to measure. Nope. Instead, meaning is created together by everyone involved. The truth is all about your perspective, which angle you're looking from. It's a total move towards accepting that there are lots of different valid, subjective realities. Okay, so we've got binoculars for getting the precise details and a kaleidoscope for seeing all the different patterns. But what if you don't want to be stuck with just one? Well, that brings us to our third pair, the pragmatic glasses. This analogy is awesome. Think of these like a pair of high-tech goggles with interchangeable lenses. You're not married to one way of seeing things. Instead, the big question is, what's the problem I'm trying to solve, and which tool is going to get the job done? Sometimes you need that super focused binocular view. Other times, you need to see the big picture. The whole point here is just what works. It's all about being practical, flexible, and focused on the problem at hand. So there you have it, 3 very different ways of seeing. But here's the thing. Researchers don't usually just pick one pair of glasses and wear them for their entire career. It's more of a journey, an evolution, really. And that evolution tends to happen in a few steps. First, you start with one pair, right? Probably the one you were first taught, and you get really, really good with them. But then, you start to notice what they can't see. You see their blind spots, and that moment is everything. That's when you realize you need a bigger toolkit. You start learning how to switch between different glasses, picking the best one for whatever you're looking at. But that kind of change doesn't just happen out of the blue. So what is it? What actually makes a researcher decide to try on a new pair of glasses? Let's dig into the things that drive that shift. It turns out there are about 7 key things that really push this evolution forward. These are the experiences that take a researcher from having one fixed view to having a much more flexible and honestly more powerful perspective. Let's break them down. Okay, the first 2 are absolute game changers. First, just being exposed to new ideas. It's like borrowing a friend's glasses and suddenly going, whoa, I had no idea the world looked like this. When you start reading stuff from people who think differently, you can't help but see the limitations of your own starting point. And then there's just complexity. The real world is messy, especially when you're talking about people. You quickly realize that these complex problems just don't fit into one neat little box. You have to find new tools. The next 3 are really personal. For one, just good old-fashioned trial and error. I mean, nothing teaches you what doesn't work faster than having your method completely bomb.
Then there's that moment of self-reflection, when you finally realize, oh, my own biases and my own values are part of the glasses I'm wearing. And of course, there's the people around you, your mentors, your peers. They have a huge impact on what you even consider to be good or legitimate research.
And the last two really boil down to reality and wisdom. Sometimes you're forced to change just because of practical stuff. You've got a tight deadline, not enough money, whatever. You have to use the tool that works, period. And over a long career, all of this stuff just adds up. You mature. Experienced researchers just tend to be way more flexible and open to different ways of seeing things. So after all this, trying new glasses, running into problems, learning from others, where does this journey lead? It all comes down to a fundamental shift in the kind of question a researcher even asks in the first place.
And here it is, maybe the most important takeaway of all. A new researcher, they're often obsessed with finding the one correct pair of glasses. They're always asking, which way is the right way? But a more experienced researcher, they ask a much better question. They know every pair of glasses has its pros and cons. So they ask, which glasses, or maybe even a combination of them, will help me see this particular problem the best? See the difference? It's a huge shift from what's correct to what's useful.
And that's really what I want to leave you with. This whole thing isn't just for academics in a lab. We all wear glasses. We all have a worldview that shapes how we see everything, our work, our friends, the news. So maybe take a second and ask yourself, what glasses are you wearing right now? And what might you be missing?